So wonderful to have everybody here. And as we allow people to come in, I do like that we just start. And we just start in a quiet place so that it gives people time to come and join us. And then I'll do an introduction. So as it's 4 o'clock, those who'd like to join, there's often a delay in sound, but you can either just dwell in the sound of the Oms. Wonderful if you can join me. You're welcome to turn your sound on. And as we commence this series called Gate of Hope, let's spread this experience of hope far and wide, all the directions, the 4 directions. So just finding deep in that belly the arrival of the chi as we bring our sound, filling the lungs with energy. Let's bring our hands, if you like, into Gasho, into the heart position, as we join together with that primordial sound of Om, however you like to do your Om. Thank you. I'm going to start. So thank you for joining me in the Om chant. And I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of our land and waters, past, present, and emerging. And also the tradition of shiatsu and Oriental medicine, and also the yogic tradition of which I've studied, and all the lineages of the traditions of all of us coming here together collectively today. So I'm Marie Crutch. Most of you I know, and that's very exciting to be with you here, see so many faces in this moment where I hope as we explore through spring today that we can feel that sense of hope. So what I'd really like to bring to you today is my 30+ years of experience in Oriental medicine, my passion for using the 5 phases in my shiatsu practice, in my Japanese acupuncture practice, and then more recently blending that in my yoga practice as well. And so what better place to start than in wood? And for many of you, you will have an understanding of the 5 elements and the 5 phases. But for the sake of an introduction, as this is going to be a series that will continue right through the seasons, and I'm hoping that we will have an opportunity each month to come together. And therefore we'll have 3 sessions each season. And in those, I'd really like to be able to offer 2 points at each session and really hone into the flavour and the experiential qualities of those points. And today, adding some reflection, some affirmation possibly offering you, or just an embodied experience of the point as we explore the points on ourselves and we feel it, and then hopefully in the latter half of the session at 20 to 5, we can share something of our own experience today, or possibly experience of these points. And so just some general housekeeping. So this is being presented through the college account, but I am at home, so in my own clinic. And just acknowledging the college, Jason and Lawrence, who've recently become the directors of the college in what is the most extraordinary of times. So we also hold our energy out to them as they navigate to hold this incredible community of 35 years together moving forward. And there are many postgraduate programs that we still hope to deliver at college in this flavour of 5 elements. And I want to acknowledge John Kirkwood in Adelaide, who does come regularly to college, particularly his books, and there's reference in the PowerPoints that I'm using today, his wonderful work on the 5 elements and the workshops he does. Guy Bennett also comes through Melbourne teaching the 5 elements, and within the college community, Angela Lane presents the 5 elements to the undergraduate students as well. So there's a wealth of experience in focused work on 5 elements at the college currently and in future work. It is possible from these sessions to receive 1 CPE and D point, and Jason will organise the paperwork for that. We haven't quite structured around the recordings. I just wanted to start off by just, you know, there are issues around privacy. If you keep me as your main screen, then these will be, naturally they are recorded, they're kept in college archives. If you don't want to have any image that is kept in college archive, then I ask that you either not talk, which is hard because I like people to have some interface with me, or you turn your screen off, because that will present the image. I think there are other little key ways if anyone wants to put anything in the chat box. If it's okay, I will not focus on the chat. You know, I'm a Luddite. I'm a child of the 60s that wasn't born into technology. I've been brought kicking and screaming, and obviously it's not my preferred method. So I don't have all these, you know, fandangled tech skills that my kids have. I've learned to use 2 laptops at the same time, and even that's not great for my vata in yogic philosophy, airy constitution. So you're just going to have me present, and that's what I'm giving you, which is a gift. And in turn, there will be some PowerPoints just so I can share some basic information. But once again, they will be available in the recording. So at the moment, we can't, just in terms of logistics at college, please don't, if you don't mind, just requesting, don't request to have copies of the PowerPoints, just at the moment. There might be something available down the track. We're just working with the best thing that we've got. Okay, all that aside, probably good while I am talking to just have the audios off, and then I will encourage some feedback from that. So I'm going to share my PowerPoints and then there'll be some practical components as I've talked about. I like to bring in a stretch. Now we're not doing hands-on work, except I am going to get you to experience the points. So your agencies are really about whether you want to touch the points. If you want to be seen touching the points, at any time, if you want to have your screen off, that's absolutely fine, your camera off. I'm going to invite you, and it could be the bioenergetic fields around the body. You might like to just hover over the points. You might not want to physically touch them. You might like to touch one point rather than bilateral. The points that I'm offering you today are bilaterally on the body. And so therefore, that's completely up to you how you want to work with this today. The same with the affirmations. Recently, I've been doing the EFT training, and where they use, particularly one of the points, or in fact, both of the points we're using today are in that EFT, emotional freedom technique training. But they use a whole compendium of points together, whereas I'm just taking 2 points today for simplicity and using those with an affirmation. Once again, that's really up to you. You might feel, oh, an affirmation's not right for me. Whatever works for you. This is my gifting to you, and I want you to take from it what you'd like to take from it. So here we go. I'm just going to share my screen with you now. So it's called the 5 phases, Wuxing, and most of you are familiar with it. In the traditional schools, also earth is sometimes placed in the middle, and you can see fire at the north, metal moves around into water, then wood, and earth represented after fire is also seen at the end of all the seasons. So at the moment, as we transition from winter or water season, there's a little bit of earth energy. So in this 10-day transition from each of the seasons, so from winter into spring, from spring into summer, likewise from summer into autumn, autumn into winter, and then winter into spring, we have a 10-day earth time. And it's very interesting. Sometimes there's this capacity for the body to clear extra patterns that weren't cleared previously, and it happens in this 10 days. So earth in this 5 phases is traditionally either seen in the middle or just after fire, but it can also be represented at the end of each of the phases. The 5 phases, which represent flavors, all have correspondences, and they have correspondences to the seasons, to an organ, to an emotion, to a sound, to a color. And a therapist who specializes in working with the 5 elements starts to determine what sort of a pattern is my client presenting with? What sort of a pattern am I presenting with? We're all part of many of the different elements, but there'll be one that we really relate to. So have a look at those. You can find this online. You can type in correspondences of the 5 elements and just go a little bit more deeply. And as we're going to start with wood, we're going to really look at what does wood mean. And here they've represented wood in brown, but they've really got the colors wrong. It should be the other way around. Earth is really the brown orange and wood is the green color. Just to give you an overview, each of the elements has a sense organ, as we'll look at today. And you can see that the arrows inside that circle represent not just the movement around the circle in a clockwise direction, which is called generating cycle. So the fire element generates earth. The earth element supports and generates metal. The metal element supports and generates the water. And water supports and generates wood, which supports and generates into fire. But an extra component, which is just as important, is this controlling cycle. And you'll see that on those arrows, that the fire element has an effect on metal, its grandchild. That the earth element has an effect on water, its grandchild. That the water element has an effect on fire, and conversely. So another way of describing the relationships of the elements is mother-child and grandmother-child. And so in some of the traditional texts where they talk about treatment principles, they'll say, treat the mother to treat the child. So let's look at the nature of wood. I'm going to go into the showing an image of the character because that's important of the main points that we're going to look at. But let's look at the nature of wood. It generally is a movement that is upward and out and is represented classically by the tree. but just basically all forms in the plant kingdom. And if we look at the character, the central vertical line represents the trunk of a tree, with its horizontal line, the branches, and the slanting line, its roots. The wood energy has an ability to find ways around obstacles to growth, knowing that much of the tree is below ground, a reminder of the importance of that deep rooting that is required for healthy wood energy. Spring is the natural resonance season of wood. The sense organ is in the eyes, the colour green and the sound shouting. The odour is very interesting, rancid, and in a healthy way, this is like the light smell of fresh cut grass. But when there's imbalance or disharmony, it's more like the smell of old oil or fat. Not very nice. Anger is a natural energy of wood, but that's more like a directional capacity force, not seen in a negative way unless it's restrained or unless it's overtly expressed on another individual or animal and causes injury. In and of itself, it is a natural force that has great capacity. Other gifts of wood are vision, planning, decision-making, good judgment, clarity, imagination, and creativity. I'm going to focus on a point on the gallbladder. It is the yang partner of wood. Its function, as in the Western medicine, is to collect, store, and excrete bile. Sorry about the lack of E there. It controls the sinews, which is the tendons, the ligaments, the cartilages, and particularly of the limbs and joints. The gallbladder provides the chi, the energy to these sinews for proper movement and flexibility. And its primary role emotionally is in controlling decisiveness. It's not only responsible for decision making, but it's the motivator behind all the other 11 official organs, all the main organs that we talk about in Oriental medicine that were represented in that second slide. Interesting. The gallbladder is the motivator. It's the coach. It's the mentor. It's like an impartial judge from whence decisions come from, particularly decisiveness, having the conviction behind your decisions. And so now we're going to enter into a physical sense of finding and feeling that on ourselves. So if you've got glasses, I'll invite you to take them off, and just using the image, I'd like you to come to the sides of your eyes, either hovering. I think it's really good to come out of, starting in the bioenergetic field and coming close and just slowly inviting your hands into your energy field and sensing through your fingers, the fingertips, which are little hand mudras, little hand antennas at the tips of the fingers. So those little mudras in the Indian tradition, by sensing, and we might even bring the fingers together in this sacred mudra as we come close towards gallbladder 1 and just sense it with our antennas. See how far away you are before you can start to feel the pulsation of gallbladder 1. Sensing right and left. It's the beginning of our gallbladder channel, and we're going to talk quite a bit about it. So I just want you to have a physical sense of it first, and just allowing yourself in. And if you feel you'd like to, touching the point, perhaps one side and then the other. And just have a sense into that point as we just hold that, focusing on our inner vision. Holding that point. Benefiting the eyes. And the name means pupil seam. And now just releasing that. That slide is there. It's on the lateral margin of the orbit of the eye. You can come back to that at any time. Regrounding yourself again as we continue exploring the nature of gallbladder 1. I'd like you to look at the character. Many years ago, and maybe some of you present today were in the group when a student at the time did her research on the actual quality of the characters. She placed a hand-drawn piece of paper with the character name on the point and then felt the pulse and felt there was a change. So I'm going to invite you to bring your hands towards the screen and just gently closing your eyes and feeling, besides the electromagnetics of the screen, is there any difference in that character? Tong Zi Liao. Now I'm going to ask for forgiveness if I have not done. Many years ago I did take Mandarin classes and I failed dismally. So next life, or maybe later on this life, I will promise to undertake studying and naming the characters. So I do ask for forgiveness that I may not be pronouncing. Most likely I'm not pronouncing. So just bear with me, and if someone has that gift, when we come to sharing, then please, you will also illuminate all of us on the correct pronunciation. So I'm just inviting you to feel the difference in these characters, and they do feel quite different. Okay, so let's now explore the characters. Tongzi Liao, it's the entry point to the gallbladder meridian, and it means the bone of fresh, innocent eyes. And at a structural level, it represents the eye bone that sees with innocence and wonder. And in the Taoist text, it talks the way that the character is drawn as an eye, but also to represent a servant. And in ancient times, the servants were often seen as very innocent people because they weren't able to marry. So, as it says, the character means the pupil of the eye that sees the world with innocence, or to open up the eye in wonder. Z itself can represent a newborn baby in swaddling cloth, and has many other meanings that I've represented there. It's the beginning of life and the growth of vision. Liao, interestingly, the character is drawn as a skeleton and wings, meaning bone. And in anatomy, what is left, we understand, is the bone. It gives the core structure and provides protection. Represents the most fundamental aspect of life as we penetrate down into the very bones of life. So being at the start of the gallbladder meridian, Tong Zi Liao has the potential to fill the entire being with fresh vision and hope. The sage sees with the eyes of the newborn. Here are those wise, innocent, newborn eyes able to direct our inner vision. It brings to us a dynamic thrust of vitality and freshness to our vision of life that is the expression of spring itself. So I'm going to invite you once again to come to gallbladder 1, Tong Zi Liao. And I'd like you to envision what it is that you'd like to see moving forward, and also being present with what are you seeing now. Breathing in and taking that vision down into your bones, into the sinews, into the ligaments, and breathing out, sending it from the soles of your feet down back into the earth. Releasing your arms, I'm going to now invite you to let your arms drift up, and we're going to do a seated tree posture, Vikrasana, allowing the arms to stretch out like the branches of the tree, extending the digits of the fingers, and start to sway like the wind. And feel that movement down the side of the body where the gallbladder meridian primarily flows. Breathing in, feel the upright energy. Like bamboo, breathing out, allow the flexibility to enter your body. Breathing in the uprightness. And once again, allowing the arms to float down and float back, holding that sacred mudra, the chin mudra, and bringing it to Tong Zi Liao. And repeating your affirmation, your intention, also known as your sankalpa, for fresh, innocent eyes. And allowing the whole palm of your hand to rest over your eyes, nourishing your eyes with the color green from all that ligaments, sinews, tendons in your hands, in your fingers, in those core vital energy centers in your palms of your hands. And slowly wiping down and releasing back down the hands, back down onto your thighs. Taking a breath in, and as you breathe out, coming back to be present here as we once again acknowledge this wonderful point. Gallbladder 1, helping us to see like the eyes of a sage, with fresh vision and hope. The point that stimulated the name for these classes, one of my most favorite points, Liver 14. Let's now find it in the bioenergetic field. There's a really nice, clear definition of the traditional point here. It is represented bilaterally in the 6th intercostal line. Mammillary line under the nipple generally. But there's a secret alternate level 14 as you float down at the edge of the ribs. So I'd like you to have a sense of which one for you today is most significant. The traditional liver 14 in the 6th intercostal space, or at the end of the rib line, the accessory liver 14. There's a trick point in between gallbladder 24, which we will discover, research, and get to know in our next session. So I invite you always to start in the bioenergetic field as if you were a friend coming to knock at the door. And that's very appropriate because this point is representative when we look in a moment at the character as a gate, as two leaves that represent the entrance of a house. And I think you'll find the significance of this is because inside the liver is housed the ethereal soul, the Hun. So let's just meet at the doorway. And then I invite you, at whatever level you're comfortable, to place your hands at whatever point, at wherever you feel resides your gate of hope, your Ming Men Liver 14. Just feeling that, sensing that. And we will go into a bit further exploration of the point in the moment. Breathing in, and as you breathe in, letting the fingers expand so there's capacity in this area. And breathing out, drawing them back in. Once again, I like to use this traditional chin mudra to make a representation of those very small antenna energy points, the mudras in all the fingers. And just letting that rest there on liver 14. You're welcome to find the alternate liver 14. You just run your fingers, your mudra down to the end of the rib line where there's an alternative liver 14. You might find you've got both happening. See what's most alive for you today. In the Japanese meridian therapy practice, we're always talking about presently alive points. So we look at the book, we get a rough idea of location, and then we let our sensing, our hands, our sense of knowledge of where the point is. Disease distorts the points. So if they appear slightly lateral or medial, it'll be because something is occurring along that trajectory. So just play with that. And if as you work, as it's happening for me today, as I contact liver 14, gate of hope, energy wants to burst forth like the spring, which is the energy of wood. So once again, just releasing that contact, coming back into that state of being presence as we now explore the point. Chi Men, may I invite you once again to bring your hands to feel the character. Have a sense of that. And it might be something you'd like to explore after this session. Printing the character out on paper, beautiful if you've got capacity to do calligraphy. Placing it over the point and feeling the pulse before and after. A nice little experiment. So let's just go into a breakdown of the liver and then the point. The eyes are the sense organ of wood and are directly related to the liver. Liver is a yin organ. We saw that the gallbladder was the yang organ. And its primary role is to store the blood. It's responsible. It is seen as the general of the army, and it's responsible for the smooth flow of energy throughout the body. And as I mentioned, it houses the soul. Each of those precious yin organs of the phases house a different type of soul or spirit. This is the ethereal soul, called the Hun. And as I mentioned with the gallbladder, the liver is also responsible for planning and helping us to find a clear path through life. Shimen means gateway of expectation and hope. And what a great point to start spring. The equinox happens in 11 days, but this is an appropriate time to start to re-find hope within us. This hope gives us the impulse to get up each day and to work for what we envision and believe. It's with hope that we can see our goals and feel in our hearts that this is the right thing to achieve and strive for. For we know even in pain we search for this hope and the light that comes at the end of the tunnel of darkness. And in this Taoist tradition, with this point, they say when you find this hope, you should share it with those you meet, for the need is great in the world. Shimen is the gateway of the hope of 100 years. When we break the character, Chi is drawn as a sieve that is placed on a support and the moon. The moon brings light and illumination to the night. The Chi in the character also means to wait for, to hope, to meet, to expect, a month, a year, 100 years. Men in the character is drawn as two leaves of a door and means an entrance, a door, a gateway, an opening, a duct. Interestingly also, family, school, and party. And so therefore, when the groundwork has been done and we have the energy to see how life can blossom forth, it is then that we can walk through the gate of hope. And it is here that we are able to see and move into a new place in life, full of greater possibilities, with the hope of 100 years guiding and fueling that vision. Shimen then is our gateway of expectation and hope, filling us with the hopeful potential of new life. And so to complete this presentation, I invite you to quietly repeat whichever of these affirmations or both, holding whichever of these points you'd like to sit with at the moment. You may just listen to my voice. As we invoke, may the wood energy within and around me fuel the clearing of all my blockages so that I can have hope and see with a new clarity. And I now choose to use the force of my wood energy to enliven and move me. And please add anything else that you need or would like to, as we just hold the space for a couple more moments. And once again, I'm now going to invite sharing and open up the space for your sharing. And once again, it's so lovely to now see people's face rather than look at a PowerPoint. Great to see you all. So I'd like to open up whoever would like to share, because for me, that's what's also really important in this time and space, is the opportunity to share.
Hi Marie, it's Aurora here.
Hi, great.
It's so lovely to see your face.
Thank you, and yours too.
And I just wanted to say thank you for putting on the series. It's really wonderful just to have you as a teacher again and feel that experience, because where I am away from Melbourne, you know, you don't get that experience very often. So I'm really grateful for the sessions.
Thank you.
I don't particularly have anything to add in terms of what you've said. It's wonderful to get refreshed on the elements and all those reminders of what we learned at the college, and some new stuff too. And so this will help me think a little bit more around the liver energy and my practices. And I'm not doing any treating at the moment, but yeah, so I'll look into these 2 points more than perhaps what I have in the past.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you for that. Great.
Hi Marie, hi everyone. It's really lovely to see you, Marie. I don't know the other people. I can relate to Aurora for living away from Melbourne. I'm in northeast Victoria. I'm actually at the home of my friend who has Zoom, because I don't have Zoom. So it's pretty special. Again, and like Aurora said, a great reminder about the wood energy. It's lovely to cover some of the really basic qualities of all of the elements again, because I don't often just sit down and look at the basic stuff. What I've really got out of the session today is the word hope, because for me, it's a time of being affected by what's happening, not only in the pandemic locally, but worldwide. And for me, it's very appropriate to be working with the thought of hope, and knowing that it's there, and sort of bringing it into my daily practice more. So I'm very grateful for that, and I look forward to more of the series. So thank you very much, Marie.
Thank you. Great. Thank you.
Can I also?
Yes, please.
I have done some shiatsu practice, but I'm not a shiatsu practitioner. But I just feel there's so much relevance to me with the liver meridian. And I mean, it's spring and we're in the country here, and we've been pruning big old trees and grafting new buds and new signwood onto them to grow, fresh, new, good wood. So there's a lot of pruning going on and a lot of new life coming, and it working with that feels so relevant to now, and that whole idea of planning, which I'm doing with my son here. It's just it's very relevant to now. So I'm glad that you've covered these points during this springtime, and to be able to reflect on that feels very, very right for now. So thank you and to Marjorie for bringing me in.
Thank you. Thank you.
Marie. So wonderful to see you and hear you. It's been really lovely springtime and getting that feeling of vision, expansiveness. And I really feel that the gallbladder 1 point that you draw us to really encapsulates that, I guess, the periphery vision. That in springtime it really activates because you're hearing all the birds singing, you're hearing all the animals come to life and all the different flowers and the different senses, the nectars. And yeah, it's just interesting that point is, you know, linked into that, the gallbladder, the wood element, the vision. Because when I've been walking out in the forest, more and more and more over time, I'm getting more feeling as if I'm seeing through here. So it's really, really lovely to acknowledge that.
Yes.
Because we can get a lot of pain here.
Yes. Yes.
And tense up.
Yes.
And the blockages. And so I really will feel that mantra also will really, really be helpful through this time.
Yes.
So yeah, I really appreciate it. And thank you a lot. Yeah. And I've got one question. The Earth period, so you got 10 days perhaps on average. And in each transition, I suppose it would be slightly different because the two different elements working and or sort of manifesting in a different way. Is there a way that you found that you can pay more attention to that subtle difference, if that makes sense?
Rebecca may also remember from Chinese medicine training that they often talk about unresolved pathologies, patterns from the element 2 seasons before, the grandparent element. I didn't want to go to that level, but you may remember that. That's what often comes out. So we're in wood phase, is transition into wood, spring. So therefore, anything that was unresolved in autumn from the lungs and the large intestine have an opportunity to re-manifest at this time and clear.
Yeah.
So I like to think about that, creating, again, a doorway, a space for this transition from one to the other, and anything that wasn't quite cleared can then have an opportunity. Thank you for bringing that up again.
Yeah, I've really felt that some actually grief coming up and moving through.
Yes.
So the lung and the metal element. So, and letting the tears, letting it express. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, Marie. The affirmations, yeah, very powerful, and for myself and for maybe many people at the moment, just yeah, calling on the strength of the wood, and yeah, I just remembering how the roots overcome obstacles, and yeah, just a real, for me, it's been a big word is just openness. So openness to the potentials within. So, yeah, and holding gallbladder 1, just sort of, that's what the energy it brought. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Did anyone have any experience with feeling the character? And once again, is there anyone who can correct me on my character pronunciation or assist me?
When I did feel the Chi Men, definitely felt the gate. I didn't know that that was the gate part, but I felt that openness again. It was quite distinct from the other character. Yeah. So that was
Thank you.
interesting.
So someone might like to do a little bit of research and play with that idea that a student did years ago with their research. Someone in the room may remember who that was. I personally can't remember who it was. I can picture the process occurring and how excited we were when we could actually measure a change with putting the characters on the points. Some of the Reiki symbols are based on that, so it's not surprising there's energy in the characters, is it?
I wanted to share a little bit, Marie.
Thank you, Sharon.
Firstly, like everyone else, thank you so much for the gift of this time, your experience, your knowledge. And it's so wonderful to step back into this space of learning where we are feeling that distance and that separation from each other. It was interesting with experiencing the gallbladder one. Just yesterday, actually, I was going for a walk and I had my face mask on and I had my sunglasses on, and I saw a car come. I saw it a little bit later, like I was safe, but I saw it a little later than I would have normally. And I just had this fleeting thought of, oh, wow, our peripheral vision is actually quite blocked off physically, but also from a symbolic sense. Because we are in lockdown, a lot of us have been dealing with a lot of emotions and dealing with the physical and the psychological ramifications of being in lockdown. And I'm lucky because I'm in a regional area. I don't have it as strict as they have in Melbourne. And therefore we are losing sight of what's actually happening in the greater world. What we're experiencing is an inconvenience, but we're actually in a pandemic. People are losing their lives here. And we have to keep being reminded of what's actually happening in the wider world. And with the emotional aspect of each element, I'm aware that there are positives and negatives, so to speak, of each particular element. And when I explain to my own students in martial arts, wood presides over anger. Anger in the Western world is often seen as a negative, but it's not in the Chinese world. It is how it's expressed, as you mentioned. And kind of, I guess you can kind of see what's happening with all the protest rallies and so on and so forth. There's a lot of anger and frustration there, and it's simply not being expressed in a way that's productive. And, you see again and again, Ahashio Sensei, he said you can always see 5 elements and the yin yang just working in the world around you if you're able to just wear the Oriental therapist's eyes. And so it's really quite remarkable going, okay, this is actually what's still happening here, and just sitting in the space of being an Oriental therapist. I wanted to ask you a question. I had to quickly run and grab a book when you were speaking. When we're working with Gallbladder 1, I was like, oh, this point is all about vision. And I was just checking the meridians because before I fell pregnant, I was doing quite a lot of research into the 8 extraordinary vessels. I find them quite remarkable and just such an expansive body of work that really does complement the 12 main meridians so well. And I was going, I don't think it's part of the trajectory of the yin and yang Chiao Mai, and it's not. And it's really quite interesting. They intersect at Bladder 1. So I just wanted to ask you if you knew why it's not really kind of included, or if you had any experience of actually working it in relation to the ADVs.
No. No experience of working it with the extraordinary vessels. Like you, I'm fascinated with the extraordinary vessels, and I use them because I'm also registered as an acupuncturist in my Japanese meridian therapy, having trained with Paul Movsesian for 20 years. So no, but it does in the references. I also saw it under, I think it was Yin Chiao Mai. I'll have to go back and have a look. And, you know, possibly this could be something else. Over the years, in the past, we did quite a lot on the extraordinary vessels, and that might be something that the college could continue on in a postgraduate manner, exploring those.
That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, thank you for bringing those and for your sharing,
Thank
Sharon,
you.
and all those who've shared so far. Yeah, we'll just spend, we've got another 5 minutes if anyone else wants to share.
I just
Ryoko?
wanted to say,
Share.
oh, sorry,
Sorry,
please go ahead.
Ryoko, you go next.
Okay, quickly, thank you very much. And then so grateful to be here. Thanks for the college. I was particularly between 2 points. For the liver 14, I didn't know particularly, but when I touched on the left side personally, but then I felt a special emotion, which I even couldn't describe in words. But I tried to find the words in my limited English, but it was something like touching the part that was not even born.
Wow.
That's what I felt. And then some emotional, really very naive, sensitive part. And then touching some freshness. That's what I felt. So, well, I don't know, we don't have to put the reason or anything for sensation, but I just kind of tried really too hard. And then I kind of tried to interpret something like, maybe I just gave up, thinking about the character meaning, tap the door and then open it, and then to say, that's okay, that's warm enough, come out, kind of, maybe because I kind of repress the dream that I'm having, but it's too shy to even share. And then I'm just too afraid to have the dream because I don't know if there's no guarantee for you to achieve. But I felt like today, that's okay. Just come out, crawl out. That's okay. That's what I felt. And then I got a real sensation in my body. And then like the other gentleman said, I didn't, it didn't as a, water, but I almost felt that almost like a burst to something come out really. So that was a really special things. Well, I guess I was too emotional. I wanted to have one more to share, but I forgot. So just let me close saying big thank you. And then thank you for everyone to be here. Thank you, Marie.
Thank you. Thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you. Anastasia, were you? Yeah.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, Ryoko. Thanks for sharing. Thanks, Marie. Where I'm at in my shiatsu journey, that's the first time that I've done anything like that. So I haven't, focused on a specific point and its energy and its qualities before. So that was really lovely, and I did feel like a greater sense of hope. And, I've sort of done affirmations before and I've pressed points before, but I haven't done them together. And that was, it felt like it had an immediate effect kind of thing. It was really nice. And like the hovering, coming really slowly in. I really like that as well. I haven't, at the moment, I just feel it feels the same with every point. So at the moment, it's like I can feel chi, but not the subtle differences in chi. But that's awesome to practice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I know on a personal level, it really came to me after really, those of us in Metro Melbourne really since March, having been restricted in our physical practices. And so the thought of touching straight away was a shock, because we have been cocooned and just opening, like Ryoko said, I think opening the door a little bit. And they talk about that in the Buddhist practice when we're dealing with emotions, We don't just swing the doors open, it's a shock. We just slowly open a little bit and just look outside. So we all have permission through our gate of hope, our new gate, because things are different. You know, there's no question. It is a new time, a new space. So we could just slightly open the hinge of liver 14 and just see what is there, what is new, what we want to graft from our previous time, and move forward, spring, with those nice deep roots. So let's, if it's okay, it's a really good place to finish. And, you know, like we started, just acknowledging us coming together, acknowledging all that is present. And those that perhaps haven't spoken, those that we can't see, but we know that you're here with us as well. And so I'd like to start and finish with the 3 Om chant. Thank you. So thank you. Hopefully you have my contact details. My email was on that college email. So you're welcome to send me any messages. So particularly, you know, I'm happy to share the references, but not have to do all the sharing electronically of the slides. So happy to share you the references. And it will be available as a recording in the college database. So thank you all.
Thank you, Marie.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.